Okay, guys, come in, come in. Gil, Callan, you two as well. I know you're injured, Gil, but and Callan, can you go sort him out? Yeah, great to have you back around the mix, mate. Okay, guys, great work winning the Southern League. Didn't lose a game. Perfect way to go into this National League phase, okay? We've got some tough ones early, though. Every tough team we're playing away, and that includes the OFC Champions League holders in Western Suburbs. So we need to keep this form going and keep it up for the remainder of the season so we can make our way through to the OFC Champions League next season, okay? Top 2 finish, and we're there. Let's get it.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 44 of this New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the Whites and with Cashmere Technical. And coming up today, going to start off the National League Championship phase of the season, 9 games to hopefully make our way into the OFC Champions League for next season. And it's a little bit of a central theme one. First up, we take on the Phoenix Reserves, and then we travel away with a bus trip to the OFC Champions League holders in Western Suburbs. So if you're looking forward to those 2 games coming up in today's episode, as well as a couple more transfers that we have made going into this stage of the season, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But at the end of last week, we wrapped up the Southern League and also made our way through to the quarterfinals of the Chatham Cup with a win over Wellington Olympic. If you missed the episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Off the back of that, just continued off the back of about a month or so's break, while both the Central League and the Northern League caught up to where we were in the Southern League. As you can see on the table there, actually went through our league season without losing a game. Just that one draw you saw last week against Selwyn United. But despite the fact we were able to rest some key players, we still got the job done in our last 3 games. Before then, we have to make our way through both the quarterfinal and the semi-final of the Chatham Cup. As expected, got past Southland United. That was by a scoreline of 5-1. Masan with 2 goals, and also Albertine, Michael James Gilbert and Aliosa. They chipped in with goals, 3 goals in the second half off the back of Southland United, making it a little bit dicey at halftime with the scoreline at 2-1, but that was a convincing performance. For some reason, only 3 days later, that was when the semi-final was played, which seemed a little bit weird considering no games are just over a month before then. Why rush it now? But we took on Napier Marist because those guys, they beat Christchurch United in the quarterfinals on penalties. We got some revenge for the Southern League there with a 3-1 win, albeit not quite as clinical as you might expect in terms of the scorelines. These guys, not that bad a team, obviously, having defeated Christchurch United. Early goal yet again to Adam Does FM. If you're punting him, the first goal scorer here this season, you'll be making a lot of money on him so far. My son goes off early. They did grab a goal back at the half-hour mark to make it 1-1. And it took us a little while to turn things around in this game, but Albertine from the spot around the hour mark, and then in injury time, Adam, he grabs yet another double in the Chatham Cup to make sure that we are through to the final. And you might be able to see it at the bottom of the screen, albeit my face cam might be blocking it. But the other semi-final, it was won by Auckland City by a scoreline of 4-1 over Otorohanga. So that sets up coming up in tomorrow's episode, a Auckland City versus Cashmere Technical final. The 2 teams so far domestically this season who have not lost a game. Hopefully that might still be the case when we come back for that one in tomorrow's episode, albeit a little bit disappointingly, the final is away at Kuatia Street, Auckland City's home ground. So that could make things a bit tricky for us in that Chatham Cup final, but a chance for us here at Cashmere Technical to go one better than last season, where we did lose the final to Tauranga City, albeit I wasn't here then. Hopefully we can go just that one step further here and get a bit of an advantage over Auckland City before we take them on in the National League Championship, because off the back of that, we did finish the Southern League off the back of those results in the Chatham Cup 4-1 win over Christchurch United. That was quite nice. Early goals there. That game was over by half-time. Same could kind of be said as we beat Nelson Suburbs 4-1 up at Saxton Field. 3 first half goals, and then Al Ghazali completed a hat-trick early stages of the second half And to round things off, we bet Southern United on the final day of the season 3-0. That was actually quite a big game, because if they got something out of that one, we'll go back to the Southern League table. They could have got themselves into the National League, but they did not, and that is because we picked up that win. And going back and finding the results here on that final match day, Christchurch United picked up a 3-0 win over the Coastal Spirit, so they just do enough to go through as the second best team from the Southern League. So that's how things ended in terms of the Southern League Nomads, a team who actually gave us a few scares when we played them this season. They are going down to the division below, so I actually don't mind that, because they were probably one of the toughest teams we actually played in the Southern League this season. From the Central League, the teams in the National Championship are Wellington Olympic, they're the champions, just over Western Suburbs, and Northern Rovers are also through Waterside Karori. They're getting relegated. And from the Northern League, obviously, Auckland City, having not lost the game so far this season, at least in terms of domestic football, because they did lose the Champions League final to Western Suburbs. They cruise through as champions. Tauranga City, Manukau United, and Melville United, also in the National League. Western Springs and Bay Olympic, they get relegated, a little bit close there between Western Springs and Onehunga Mangere, but those are results from all the domestic leagues, and that sets up this National League Championship. Just 9 games, play each team once, and hopefully, at the very least, we can finish in that top 2 and make our way through to a grand final. And if we do that, we'll then have some OFC Champions League football for the start of our second season here at Cashmere Technical. And the fixtures are out, obviously, because we're about to play the first 2 games, and we have actually been drawn away against most of the teams I'd consider to be the threats to us, which is a little bit frustrating. Second up in today's episode, Western Suburbs, seeing as they're the OFC Champions League holders, definitely a team that we need to respect, as well as playing them away from home in the Chatham Cup final. Also got Auckland City away in the National League as well, so that is definitely a big game coming up. The Chatham Cup final, hopefully can win that and just grab a little bit of a psychological advantage going in to the National League game. And then the last game of the National League Championship, hopefully by that stage, might not be anything writing on it, but yet again, we're away to Wellington Olympics. So pretty much all the teams I'd consider the big threats to us here in that championship we take on away from home. And also the Phoenix Reserves, who we play first up, they can be a little bit interesting depending on what the Wellington Phoenix have got going on whenever you do get drawn to play against them. We'll just see what is going on there in terms of their squad. As you can see, it really does depend who's in that squad on what's going on with the first team. Just do a quick update on what the Phoenix first team is up to. And they're taking on Melbourne City away from home on the same day we take on their reserve. So that should mean that we're taking on the actual reserve team and not a reserve team with quite a few first team players thrown in, like might be the case in between those games they're playing against the Western Sydney Wanderers and South Melbourne. Pretty decent gap there in between the middle of September and the early stages of October. So hopefully got a nice timing of playing these guys. We can make the most of it in the National League. But before we have a look at that, also a quick A-League update. AFC Auckland with a manager who likes a 4-2-3-1 doing a lot better this season. But we have done some transfers off the back of the episode at the end of last week, obviously into a new season in terms of the A-League. So it means a couple of players did come off contract from clubs in that competition, also other competitions around the world. It's kind of similar in terms of how the timing works to the Build a Nation I did back with Volsunga in Iceland. So a couple of additions at the halfway point of the season, both on a free transfer. We'll get the one that's obviously going to catch your eye out of the way first, the most recent one. Callan Elliott got released by AFC Auckland, so we've decided to bring him to Cashmere Technical. Not a bad wage, £725 a week isn't too bad at all for a player who's a fringe, or quite useful having someone like that in the squad, because I can then see how good players who are right backs might be in comparison to him. If there's someone better from overseas, that's probably a sign we should sign them, because they could improve the All Whites. So Callan Elliott makes his way to Cashmere Technical after 108 appearances and 4 goals in the league for AFC Auckland. Obviously, player we're very familiar with, did a good job for us in our 4 seasons up there at AFC Auckland, or Auckland FC, I suppose, if you want to use their real name, now that that has been unveiled. And also, one of the reasons that grab of Callan Elliott is quite good is because we have got another foreigner in here at Cashmere Technical, and we signed him because he's someone who could actually make his way into the All Whites as a right winger. This is Gil from Angola. Unfortunately got injured in one of those last few games that we did play in the Southern League, but 4.5-star current ability and 5-star potential. He is a very promising 19-year-old, albeit is capped at under 23 level for Angola, so we'll see if he actually lasts long enough to be an All Whites prospect for us here in this save, but certainly someone I thought was worth bringing in here at Cashmere Technical. 1 goal in 1 appearance, but as I said, unfortunately is currently out injured for 2 to 5 weeks. Got injured in his first game against Christchurch United, so that means he won't be featuring for a little while, but hopefully might be back in time for some big games in the latter part of the National League Championship. So a couple of transfers that we have bought, and it does usually mean Albertine is not in the starting lineup. Cullen Elliott is, and that still means we've got our 5 options in terms of foreign players, as it's quite good having him Zalgi as one of those on the bench, seeing as he can cover both right back and left back. Also, a couple of other injuries we are currently dealing with. Lorenzo Janssen, our backup to Ariosa as the central attacking midfielder, twisted ankle, is out for 6 days to 3 weeks, so he also won't feature during the course of today's episode. And as well as that, Nathan Walker's been pretty good for us in that right wing position so far this season. He is out for 1 to 2 more days, and that is, if we go back and check, with a pulled hamstring. It does mean the former Phoenix man and Josh Tulurvi will get a start against his former club. Just coming back from injury now is Nchingase, so he'll be featuring during the course of today's episode, but hopefully can get off here to a good start at home against the Phoenix Reserves and get ourselves up near the top of the table nice and early in the National League Championship. And here are the team sheets for our first game of this National League Championship. In terms of us, obviously Cullen Elliott new at right back, as well as that Tulurvi at right wing with that injury to Walker, and also Gilbert up front with Al Ghazali a little bit tired. The other Phoenix going with a 4-4-2. Nothing too scary there in terms of the reserve team, obviously, seeing as the seniors are taking on Melbourne City, and hopefully make the most here of our home games and start the championship phase with 3 points. And it hasn't taken long here for the first highlight, just 4 minutes in, and we're looking to make our way here into the Phoenix half. They are in the all black, wearing our traditional Brazil-like uniform of the yellow with the blue shorts. Tulurvi, their former player, plays that one forward to Cullen Elliott. He goes down on that tackle from Palmer and earns us a penalty nice and early. Now, no Albertine does mean that Cullen Elliott's actually going to take this penalty. A chance from here to make a good first impression. It's not a very good one. Cully Heald will make a decent save there, the brother of Lucas Cully Heald. So off the back of that, might just check and see who the best penalty taker is in the team, because right backs really shouldn't be doing it, I imagine, but still not too great in terms of the penalty options. I think Ariosa might be the best one. As well as that, let's just see. I think Al Ghazali should probably be up there, but to be fair, not really great options, so I don't know if that's going to make too much difference in terms of actually selecting those, because it looks like our fullbacks are the best options, but unfortunately, early chance missed there, the corner. They do clear it, do the Phoenix Reserves, Ariosa, loose touch, and Fleming can hoof that one, clearing miss. An early chance there to go 1-0 up, still scoreless, coming up to the 10-minute mark. And just coming up to the half-hour mark in this game, we'll give it encourages. As you can see, stats-wise, definitely the team here who are on the front foot. But we finally get another highlight in this game. It's a goal kick there, which Cully Heald pumps deep, but thankfully we win that, and the Lapane plays that forward, and Adam, he can get on the ball, see if he can score the first goal yet again. Must have just been inside the box there, because Connor Fleming has brought him down. It's another penalty. This time, Rosane Bergigio will try and put it away, so a left back instead of a right back. Left foot, not the best in terms of placement, but thankfully goes through the hands of LB Cully Heald, and he'll score only his second goal this season, as you'd expect from a left back, but thankfully this time we convert our penalty 1-0 with 10 minutes to go in the first half. And with only a few minutes left in this first half, we now have a throw in here near enough to inside of the final third down that right-hand side, and Cullen Elliott, he will play that one back to Lapane. Now Munoz in a bit of space will try and rifle that one into the top left corner, but unfortunately just goes over the bar. The Phoenix Reserves yet to do anything in this game. But to be fair, we haven't done too much either from open play. 2 chances from the penalty spot. Missed the first one through Callan Elliott, but the second, Bigizio did put away. Obviously, Elliott on a poor rating because of that penalty, but we're actually playing quite well. The Phoenix haven't done anything yet, so I think we'll just tell the guys doing well, capable of better, and get the second half underway with a 1-0 lead. And it looks like that halftime team talk might have worked as an early highlight here. A throw right on the halfway line this time down our left-hand side. A ball played for the Munoz. Almost keeps hold of it, but good work there from Bigizio to win that back for us. He picks out Ariosa, who makes his way down the left-hand side, just takes his timer on the ball. Nearly loses out there to Fleming, who did give away the penalty that actually got scored. Poor ball into the mix there, but thankfully we control it just outside the box. Munoz now will play that one all the way back to Bailey Stevenson. Now Lepane surely will find Bigizio, and he does trying to work something here down this left-hand side. Lepane plays that across to Munoz, picks out to Lurvy, who will score against his former club. It's FM. It always happens. Had to pick him considering the injury situation, and thankfully we did. Josh Tuluvi picks up his 10th goal of the season. He's been pretty good for us considering he came in a bit later than some of our other signings coming in to our first season here at Cashmere Technical. Good first time finish that with his left foot, and we grab a buffer goal nice and early in the second half. And right on the 69-minute mark, there's a highlight here, albeit poor pass down our right-hand side, and Palmer can try and get the Phoenix here on the attack for the first time in this game. Looks for a Fleming there inside the box. Interesting here away from Bigizio. Shot there from Pereira, forces a very good save there out of Josh Hawkins, so a decent chance there for the Phoenix to grab a goal back, but thankfully good save there from the under-23 New Zealand goalkeeper. And that header from Clark goes very close, just wide to the Phoenix. Starting to go on the front foot a little bit. Good time to make some subs here. Callan Elliott still on a poor rating. We'll bring in Zalgi on for him. And also Adam does FM Masan, not doing too great. So we'll also bring on Declan Tyndall. So hopefully we can grab one more goal and put this one to bed. Still 2-0 in front. And in fact, right off the back of those subs, now it's a free kick here to the Phoenix through Smith. That one goes just over the bar. Starting to build up a bit of momentum, but thankfully still 2-0. And we've just made our way into the last 5 minutes of this game. To be fair, it hasn't been up to too much. We'll even go attacking late just to see if we can put this one to bed. The Phoenix had that brief period there with around 20 minutes to go where they did try and test us a bit. Good saving amongst that from Josh Hawkins, but thankfully apart from that, we were on the front foot. Definitely could have done a bit better in that game based on XG, albeit 2 penalties. One of them was missed, so that might explain why that was so high, that one from Callan Elliott. Not a good start for him. Only a 6.3 considering how good we know it can be from our time at AFC Auckland. But thankfully, later in the first half, Bigizio put one away before Josh Tuluvi scores against his former club, as is often the case. Also just checking here to see if this Kakache is a relation to Libby. No, he is not, which is a bit disappointing. But that was a solid first up win. Certainly could have been a bit better from open play. But we kick off the National League Championship part of the season with 3 points at home, and we'll see if we can do the same when we travel away to take on Western Suburbs. But before we go into that Western Suburbs game, of course, we are doing a bus trip for this one, seeing as it is up in Wellington. Yet again, travelled up the day before, so we had to find a hotel. Unfortunately, the Movenpick that we stayed at for Wellington Olympic can go there before our last game of the season and get another sugar high. Hopefully, might already be guaranteed to go through that grand final by that stage. But it is a bit too far away from where we're playing up in Porirua. So because of that, going to stay this time at the 5 Diamond Belmont Motor Lodge. To be fair, looks fairly decent based on Google reviews and whatnot. Little bit old style, honestly, not my cup of tea usually, but the options around Porirua, it doesn't look like there's too many, so I think this is going to do for our accommodation before this game. Apparently, top-notch accommodation, 20 ground floor units. That should be enough for our squad here at Cashmere Technical. Supposed to have all the good USB, LED, Blu-ray, DVD stuff. If people still use Blu-ray DVDs, if you do, leave a comment below, because honestly, I haven't used a DVD in about 5 to 10 years, I want to say. It's been a long time, but there are the rooms. They look fairly decent. We don't care about what we need to do in Wellington. We can do that when we're staying at the Movenpick before the Wellington Olympic game. Today, we were all focused on trying to beat the defending OFC Champions League winners. And this is the bus trip that we have got going on today in terms of the map. Now, we stayed around that area last time, had to go past the Basin Reserve. As you can see there, I believe it is this is a fair way further up. If we continue to go up on the map, you see we go past a lot of suburbs and obviously make our way out west because we're taking on Western Suburbs. It is now an 11-minute bus trip instead of about a 30-minute one, so definitely a bit shorter, 9 kilometers, and we are going to make our way through the suburb of Porirua, going around Seaside, past what looks like to be a police area with a museum, I think, and also police college. Also, might go past the first McDonald's ever built in New Zealand. That could be a highlight of the bus trip. Also going past, I think, a Cobb & Co, a Pick and Save, a Cash Converters. It's classic New Zealand, but we make our way by the sea, hook around to the right a little bit, and we'll make our way to Endeavour Park, which is the home ground of Western Suburbs for our second game in today's episode. And we start the bus trip from outside of our hotel. Already quite happy with the selection, because I can go with Indian the night before at the Little India. Not too sure how good the one in Porirua is, but the one in Nelson's pretty good, so hopefully chain restaurant, that will be quite nice. But here's where we start. Time to make our way up towards Endeavour Park. And having gone around the roundabout, we're actually now on the motorway nice and early on this bus trip. We didn't actually get a look from the road at the oldest McDonald's, the first one built here in New Zealand, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. Can't show that on the bus trip. But over on the left hand side there, that's actually the city centre of Porirua, so not really where we're going for today's bus trip, so I kind of lied there. Must be in a slightly different part of Wellington, but now making our way on the motorway, and we'll see if anything interesting pops up here while we make our way down this. And so far this bus trip's been a little bit bland, but as you can see on the left hand side, starting to get the views of the ocean, also some train tracks, seeing as they actually have trains up in the North Island, unlike the part of the South Island where I live, but still making our way here on the motorway. To be fair, I think this will be most of our journey on a motorway, but we'll see if something interesting actually pops up apart from the sea. And I've kind of stuffed up this bus trip, guys, because I thought we'd actually see some stuff on this one. We're on the state highway, so we're not. We should now be going past the Royal New Zealand Police College and the Police Museum, but we can't see it from the state highway, so this is a bit of a bland road trip so far. Probably should have grabbed some Indian but on the way or something, albeit that's probably not a good idea before a game that could actually backfire, no pun intended. And we're starting to get towards some signs of life here on our bus trip for this trip to Western Suburbs. As you can see, about to make our way up towards Paraparaumu, not going as far as Palmerston North because that's just too far away, and I've heard it's pretty blimmin' boring Palmy North, honestly, so we'll see if we actually get any sights here on our way to Endeavour Park as we start to make our way through the suburb of Parramatta. And in terms of the suburb of Parramatta, we saw a mobile, and now we're back on the main road again. So there's not a lot going on this bus trip, honestly, guys. It's a bit of a dud so far. We'll see if it gets a bit better now that we're on this road. And we're on a bit more of a windy, narrow road now than what we were before on the motorway, but I've actually found something we can look at now on the map. It is a kindergarten. Let's see if I can actually find the name of it. I can't, it's blocked, but this is, if it comes up, the Parramatta Kindergarten. So there you go. If you want to send your kids there and you live nearby in Wellington, that looks relatively decent. And we're still making our way towards the ground, but as you can see on the left hand side, some lovely sea views there of Wellington. But yeah, just the kindergarten so far and that mobile station on this bus trip. But eventually it's time for us to go inland, so a right hand turn here, and I think we go down James Cook Drive, I believe this might be. Indeed it is. So now we might hopefully start to see a bit more on our way to this ground. And I think this club might be quite appropriately named Western Suburbs, because I think we've made our way now to the entrance for the ground. There you can see it, Endeavour Park and the Western Suburbs Football Club. There wasn't a lot on the way to the ground, to be fair. I'm not sure if the choice of hotel was that great. Maybe should have just stuck with the Moban pick, at least then would have got the ice cream, albeit Indian could be better, but ice cream I think is always better, especially Moban pick. That looked really good at the end of last week. Quite glad we're playing Wellington Olympic away again. What sign's that kid doing? Is that a gang sign, or is that like, I don't know, is he trying to be cool with like 4 fingers? He's trying to show he's inbred or something else. Anyway, we'll keep going down the road here. That was awkward. And we make our way into the entrance of Endeavour Park. There's a sign saying so, and hopefully might get a decent look here at the club rooms itself. There it is. Fairly similar in terms of size and structure to what we saw at the end of last week at Wellington Olympic. The car park though is a lot better. That's one of the bigger ones we've seen apart from ours down at the GMP. Unfortunately, looks like Wellington's weather has changed. Not such a good day here, but good sized car park, which you'd expect, of course, for a team that are the champions of Oceania. But there's the actual club rooms itself. Can we make our way up the drive? Not quite. We'll see if we can get much more of a view of this place. Don't think we can. Sun's out again for some reason. Looks like we're in cricket mode, which I'm not too sure about, but I'd imagine this is the field that we're playing on for the second game of today's episode. Looks a little bit understated for a team that are the champions of Oceania, but there's our venue for the second game of today's episode, the Oceania champions in Western Suburbs. Hopefully that bus trip was somewhat enjoyable because there wasn't much on the way, but hopefully we can pick up a decent result here and keep ourselves near the top of that National League Championship. And here are the team sheets for the second game of today's episode at Endeavour Park. There are Western Suburbs in pretty good form and going with a 4-3-3. Kyle Adams is a former New Zealand international playing there at left back. In terms of us, Orbertine comes in for Elliott, who struggled a bit in that first game. Also Walker and Al Ghazali, they are back at right wing and up front respectively. So pretty close to our first choice 11 these days here at Cashmere Technical as we try and beat the OFC Champions League holders. And it looks like all the players are still asleep from that bus trip because we're just making our way up to half time here so far. No highlights, 2 minutes of added time. We've been the team who've had the slight better of things in that first half, but no highlights, 0-0, which to be fair would not be a terrible result, but hopefully we can beat these guys, seeing as it looks like Wellington Olympic and Auckland City might be a bit stronger this season. Going to take off Walker, coming back from injury on a little bit of a minute restriction. Josh Taluvi off the back of a goal against the Phoenix Reserves will give him a shot and try and pump up the boys before the second half. Wake them up as it's still 0-0. And coming up to the hour mark and still no highlights, that halftime team talk might have put them to sleep even more. We're going to take off Does FM on a 6.3. He's struggled a bit so far in this championship phase of the National League. Gilbert will play left wing instead of up front. And also Paras can come on for the Pane down to Red Heart. We'll see what he can do as the DLP. All our subs used, a half hour left. Hopefully we can get some highlights. And just about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game. We've still got no highlights in this one. Not too sure what's going on out there. So we're going to try and go a bit wider, up the tempo, and also play with a higher defensive line. Start to go a little bit more attacking before maybe doing it fully when we hit the last 10 minutes of this one, because it's still 0-0. And just as I was about to go more attacking, we finally get a highlight in this game at the 81-minute mark. That might be the longest it's been so far since we've waited for a highlight. And it does say, but it's a throw in our favour, albeit that's a poor pass. Stevenson loses out there to Villarreal, but thankfully, 1-on-1 with Hawkins. He puts it wide. We get our jail free there, but now it's time for us to go attacking the wingbacks. They can go onto attacking mindset, and also we will chuck Munoz onto support, get our goalkeeper to distribute quickly. And I think that's about all we need to do because we did the rest earlier, and hopefully get a few more highlights in the late stages of this game and maybe get a chance to pick up a winner. And thankfully a bit more action happening now. We have gone a bit more positive with 5 minutes to go in this game. There is a free kick there, which we do take short. Stevenson plays that one across the face of goal to Nchingase. Plays it forward to Lurvy. Heads that one forward, but unfortunately Western Suburbs will win the rest of that ball through Kyle Adams, the former San Diego man, I believe he was at the start of the save. But a pump it deep, and Bagigio on a yellow card can tidy that one up. To be fair, open play goals, not too many for us during the course of today's episode, which is a bit of a concern, but nice ball out there for Taluvi. Squares it for Al Ghazali. It's a very late goal. Finally, something happens in this game, and we take a 1-0 lead off the back of that. I think it's just time for us here to slow things right down. We'll time waste frequently, go more narrow, be more disciplined, and also tell our goalkeeper to slow the pace down and also drop back to the standard defensive line, get those player roles back to normal, because that could be a big goal. Picking up a 1-0 win here over Western Suburbs would be quite nice. Also, might chuck Pajas on defend, considering he's in the squad to actually be the backup to Louis Munoz, so he's probably more suited to playing defensively instead of as a deep line playmaker. Nice ball there for Taluvi, backs up his good performance from that game against the Phoenix Reserves and sets that one up for Al Ghazali, and we take a 1-0 lead late on. We'll see if there's any more highlights in this game. 5 minutes of added time, and a late free kick here to Western Suburbs. Emmings will pump that one deep, but thankfully Stevenson can control it. Now Bergigio plays that one forward to Gilbert, goes back there to our Brazilian left back. A nice ball over the top here for Al Ghazali, who might go looking for a double. Squares that one nicely for Ariosa, but this time he misses the target. Still 1-0, and it looks like that might be how it finishes, to be fair, based on stats. I think a 1-goal win is about deserved from that game, but it was not up too much at all. Might have been an issue off the back of that very, very average bus trip that I just had to do. Maybe need to try a different route on the way home, or go stay at the Movenpick instead, but that is a pretty boring 1-0 win, but we'll take it. We pick up 6 points from our first 2 games in the National League Championship phase. So fair to say, not the greatest game in that second one of today's episode, but we pick up a win over the OFC Champions League holders at the moment, and that result actually is pretty good because we're the only team with maximum points after the first 2 match weeks of the championship phase of the National League. As you can see, Melville United, they held Auckland City to a draw, so that is a bit of an upset result. Also, Wellington Olympic, they drew with Manukau United, so it does mean we're currently 2 points clear on top of the National League from the chasing pack. Melville, Auckland, Wellington Olympic, and also Christchurch United and a faint reserves just behind them. To be fair, Western Suburbs have not got off to a good start in the early stages of this National League Championship. We're off to a perfect start, and thankfully other teams are slipping up already, but I think that will do it for today's episode. Not the best game second up, but we did pick up that 2-0 win over the Phoenix Reserves in that first game, and also a couple of new signings here as well at Cashmere Technical. If you enjoyed today's episode, the first couple of games from the National League Championship, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. Now coming up, obviously we're going to come back tomorrow and take on Auckland City in the Chatham Cup final. We'll just see if we do a double with the game in the National League Championship as well, or we could mix things up, because right off the back of that Chatham Cup final, we do have an international window coming up with the All Whites, and we're taking on a pretty decent team first up in Algeria, who are ranked up equal 47. So I think that's actually what we might plan to come back for in tomorrow's episode. Chatham Cup final chance for our second piece of silverware here at Cashmere Technical as we take on Auckland City, and then we'll travel away and take on Algeria. We could do a bus trip of that one. Not too sure how good Google Maps is over in Algeria, but that could be something that we do before that second game of tomorrow's episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.